In a quiet American town, where every year Independence Day was celebrated so grandly that its residents dubbed it Blazing Pride, strange and horrifying events began to unfold. At first, everything seemed like happenstance, like a spark igniting dry grass. But as the days grew hotter, so did the flames of hatred spread throughout the town. Firefighters and police officers were in a state of shock. The level of fires, and moreover, in places where waves of violence had once raged, was utterly incomprehensible. House after house, street after street, the past was reignited in flames. The fire chief, an old veteran named James McConnell, felt that something was amiss. Arriving at the scene of yet another fire, James confronted a frightening reality, a blazing inferno enveloping the walls of old buildings as if it sought to return them to their dark past. An idea crept into his mind that this might be connected to the dark events that loomed over the town. He began assembling a team to unravel this enigma. First on his list was the young and ambitious journalist, Jacob Martinez. Jacob was always ready to dig up skeletons from closets and uncover the truth even where it lay buried deep. He had always been intrigued by the townhouse history, especially its darker moments, and this case was right up his alley. James and Jacob embarked on an investigation, delving deeper into the history of Blazing Pride. They unearthed long-forgotten records of bloody events, starting from battles between pioneers and native inhabitants, to violent outbreaks of hatred in different time periods. Like a puzzle composed of terrifying tales, they began to see the image of a vengeful fire trying to restore justice. Emily Richards, a historian and anthropologist, joined the effort. Her profound knowledge of cultures and rituals helped the team realize that there was something greater ingrained in this town than just a fear of fire. She sought connections between events that ignited the flames of fury and archaic rituals that could hold the key to solving the mystery. Gradually, the team began to see the image of a vengeful spirit who emerged in the darkness and kindled flames in places where once rivers of blood flowed. They truly discovered the horrifying events that transpired in those locations and how they left invisible scars on the town and its inhabitants. For the townspeople, this was something even more terrifying than the fire itself. The shadow of the past they had tried so hard to forget had returned, and now it threatened to engulf them all. The haunting became more palpable, and the nights in Blazing Pride grew cold and suffocating, like a promise of revenge. Certain details began to take shape more clearly. James, Jacob, and Emily discovered ancient scrolls that described purification rituals through fire conducted by the ancient inhabitants of these lands. They realized that the spirit igniting the flames of hatred was linked to these rituals and those who had once been victims of injustice. As summer approached its festive peak, the town battled not only the heat but also the obsession that grew stronger with every new spark igniting on the shuttered streets. The townspeople felt that the fears and hatred suppressed beneath the surface of time were bursting forth, threatening everything dear to them. But the team didn't give up. They started searching for a way to break this dark cycle. Emily learned of ancient rituals and ceremonies that could summon the spirit and forever quench its thirst for vengeance. However, it was a dangerous path, and they understood that even if successful, the cost could be high. The night before Independence Day, the most significant night for the town, drew near. The fire of hatred was at its peak, and the vengeful spirit seemed more furious than ever. Emily began an ancient ritual, accompanied by archaic incantations. The flames of candles and torches flickered, creating a mystical atmosphere. The night was filled with tension, as if the air itself awaited change. And suddenly, on the horizon, a figure appeared. It was enchanting and terrifying at the same time, with burning eyes that pierced through the darkness. The vengeful spirit emerged in response to the summons. It was prepared for a confrontation, but this time not to stoke the flames, but to extinguish them. As the ritual unfolded, the gloomy shadows receded, and the flames of hatred began to wane, as if carrying away years of suffering and pain. The spirit realized its true essence, not only a avenger, but also a sufferer. It turned its anger inward, to forever extinguish the flames of hatred. With each passing moment, the town grew calmer. The flames dimmed, but with each spark, a new hope ignited. The townspeople, teetering on the edge, began to see the future again. The vengeful fire was stopped, but a price was paid. The history of fear and hatred, upon which the town was rebuilt, remained etched in its memory forever. Now Blazing Pride became a place of healing and hope, The townspeople pledged to remember the lessons of the past and strive for a better future. James, Jacob, and Emily remained on the evening streets, gazing at the stars, which now shone brighter than ever before. The summer evening of July 4th filled the air of the American village with the aroma of barbecue and joyful cheers. In the shade of green trees, a group of young friends had gathered to celebrate the national holiday in vintage style. Their names were Emma, Jake, Lisa, Michael, and Sarah. They had come to this cozy corner to escape the city-ass hustle and immerse themselves in the atmosphere of the past. After searching online, the friends found directions to a place called the Forgotten Colony. The old settlement was nearly lost amidst dense forests, but this holiday seemed like the perfect opportunity to revive its former glory. Among the ruins of houses and dusty streets, they discovered a grand house with an authentic atmosphere. Inside the house hung old paintings and objects, as if echoing the echoes of those times. Throughout the day, the friends planned fireworks and dances, imbuing this holiday with the spirit of yesteryear. Night fell, and the sky lit up with a myriad of colorful lights. Fireworks soared high into the sky, showering sparks and illuminating the village's ruins. However, as the night grew darker, something strange began to happen. The friends noticed that the fireworks light was reflecting not only off the ruins but also off the windows of the houses. The feeling that someone was watching them never left them. Jake had the idea to organize an old-fashioned dance in the square to enhance the atmosphere. The friends donned vintage attire and took to the square beneath the moonlit sky. Music emanated from an old radio station, adding an air of mystery to the night. During the dance, Emma noticed something odd, a shadow moving along the wall of one of the houses. She involuntarily froze in place, but when she turned towards the house, she saw nothing. She thought it was her imagination and resumed dancing. Yet when Michael approached her, he, too, noticed something peculiar. They shared their observations with the others, and everyone began to feel that something was amiss. They heard faint whispers and muted footsteps. Lisa suggested gathering around a bonfire to feel warmth and comfort on this chilly night. As they sat around the fire, the sounds became clearer. They heard whispers, as if voices from the past. Freedom, liberation. The voices whispered. The friends began to feel an invisible presence around them. Emma tried to approach one of the houses, from which the voice seemed to emanate, but the door shut before her. "We can't leave," Emma whispered, looking at her friends in alarm. "Something is happening." That was when the true signs of a strange life in this forgotten colony emerged. Doors and windows of the houses opened and closed on their own. Lantern lights shifted as if guided by an unseen hand. The friends bore witness to scenes seemingly resurrected from the past. "Cursed," Jake burst out. "This place is cursed." Just as fear began to envelop them, they saw apparitions, transparent figures emerging from the houses. In their eyes, there was something eerie and inviting, yet simultaneously yearning for freedom. The figures approached, and their voices grew louder. "Accept the curse. Set us free." The friends felt an unseen force enveloping them, merging them with the magic of times long gone. Their hearts raced with terror, but the friends couldn't leave this place. They were caught in the trap of a magical power that had lured them in and was now trying to bestow its weight upon them. But in the final moment, just as it seemed the curse was about to consume them, fireworks erupted in the sky above them. Flashes of light and sound forced the curse to retreat, and the friends realized it was their only way to break free. With all their might, they fought against the magic, focusing on their willpower. The fireworks continued to illuminate the sky, their brilliance growing, enveloping the friends. Suddenly, the curse began to recede, yielding before the force of will and light. The friends felt it retreating, making room for freedom. And then, in an instant, everything returned to normal. The square was once again bathed in a calm summer evening. The fireworks had vanished, and the friends stood in the center of the square, exhaling with relief. They gazed at the houses, no longer flickering or coming to life. "We did it," Emma said, barely believing her eyes. Now the forgotten colony returned to silence and tranquility. The friends understood they would never forget this experience. They had freed the colony from its curse, making it forgotten only to themselves. On the night before Independence Day, darkness descended upon the remote forest, creating an eerie atmosphere. A group of young people gathered in a secluded clearing to celebrate this significant holiday. The glowing sparks of fireflies and stars in the sky painted a magical spectacle, while an uncanny silence enveloped the surroundings. Among the company were Jake, a dark-haired guy with a burning desire for adventure, his girlfriend Emily, sunny and full of life, Emilia's brother Tom, witty and slightly pedantic, Katie, an adrenaline junkie, and Michael, always calm and analytical. They were childhood friends, hoping that this holiday would be unforgettable. The evening passed joyfully, with songs around the bonfire and laughter accompanying the colorful fireworks lighting up the sky with bursts of brightness. However, as the night advanced, the tree-lined paths started to obscure the reality in darkness, and their merriment gave way to a growing unease. While the guys teased Tom, who was trying to decipher the fireworks scientifically, Katie discovered an old, weathered book with a leather cover beneath her seat. She pulled it out and scrutinized each worn page. "Hey, guys, look what I found," she exclaimed, holding the book up. All eyes turned to her, and their gaze fell upon the strange, blackened pages. Tom raised an eyebrow in bewilderment. "What ancient trash did you find?" he asked. Katie chuckled and flipped through the pages, uncovering lines of enigmatic text. "Games of Independence," she read aloud. "Seems to be some kind of set of challenges or trials." Jake raised an intrigued eyebrow. "Sounds interesting. Let us see what is in there." The group gathered around Katie, and she began reading the text aloud. The instructions proposed various games and tasks that, as stated, would allow them to celebrate Independence Day in a way that was independent and free-spirited. "Listen to this. Through the dense forest, you must walk with closed eyes, holding on to each other as shoulders. Find the inner path to each other and your own freedom."
After a brief discussion, the friends decided to attempt the challenge. With mutual support, they walked through the dark forest alleys, feeling their way and leaning on one another. The rustling of leaves and the wind-ass whistle created a mystical atmosphere, while the sounds of nocturnal creatures added to the mystery.
Finally, after a long journey, they found themselves in a small clearing. They all let out a relieved sigh, rejoicing that they had managed the trial. It had been incredibly difficult. Their adrenaline was soaring. They laughed at how they had stumbled like blind chickens. "So," Michael mused, "what next?" Katie picked up the book again and continued reading. "Now gather around the bonfire and tell each other the scariest stories from your childhood. Share your fears and find the strength to overcome them." The task seemed a bit odd to them, yet intriguing. They gathered around the bonfire, already prepared for the festive night, and began sharing their scariest childhood tales. Jake recalled a nightmare from his childhood about a dark figure at the window, watching him all night. Emily told of her childhood fear of thunderstorms, and Tom admitted he'd always been afraid of public speaking. Each tale added more mystery and tension to the air. It felt like with every passing minute, the night grew darker and less predictable. As the stories they told took on real echoes, the atmosphere became even more haunting. The surrounding forest seemed to close in with its silence, and only the crackling of tree branches and the windless whisper reminded them they weren't alone. By the time the last story ended, they realized that the task had been much more intense and unsettling than they'd anticipated. Tom tapped Michael's shoulder. "I am beginning to feel like this isn't as harmless an experience as we thought." Before Michael could respond, Katie lifted the book once more and continued reading. "Now on to physical trials. Your next challenge is to navigate a labyrinth. One of you will blindfoldly lead the other, and only trust will guide them out of this dark situation." The group exchanged puzzled glances, navigating a labyrinth in complete darkness, blindfolded. This was starting to seem stranger and scarier by the moment. However, there was something in their minds that compelled them to keep going, as if their wills were under the book's irresistible influence. Jake took Emilia's hand. "Come on, sweetheart, we can do this. We're in this together." They stood before the entrance to the labyrinth, the darkness swallowing them with each passing second. The fear they had just shared seemed to have become a reality, and the forest began to take on a life of its own. Rustling, creaking, and the cold wind all combined to create a feeling that some unknown danger was lurking. Katie's voice broke the silence. "I led," she said, gripping the book tightly. Michael, the only one who seemed composed, stood before her. He placed his hands on her shoulders, and they started moving forward. The darkness engulfed them, shutting out the world, and it felt like they stepped into an alternate dimension where the labyrinth was not just a physical trial, but a test to their inner souls. Their footsteps echoed dimly, like they were moving through corridors of time. Time seemed to stretch, and it felt like they were advancing through an endless abyss. Suddenly, Katie stopped. She felt they weren't alone. Something else, something sinister, was lurking around them. Michael sensed her tension and asked, "Are you okay?" Katie noticed a faint light ahead and stepped back. "Look," she whispered. Michael turned toward the source of the light, and his eyes widened in horror. A figure stood in the shadows. It was a tall silhouette with distorted facial features, holding something sharp in its hand. Moreover, they felt that this being radiated darkness and malice. "Run!" Michael yelled, and they both sprinted forward, leaving the mysterious entity behind. The labyrinth seemed to shift, its walls appearing alive, and each turn seemed like a dead end. They moved forward, pushing through their fears, trying to take a step despite the difficulties. Eventually, light began to filter through the trees, and they emerged, inhaling the air like it was a precious gift. Their breath was heavy, but their hearts beat in unison. They had overcome a trial that could have broken their spirits. Looking at the fireworks above, they realized the book had been imbued with darkness and malevolence intentionally. Their innocent game had turned into a deadly trail designed to explore their deepest fears and weaknesses. They understood they needed to stop this evil before it fully consumed them. Holding hands, they vowed that the strength of their friendship and mutual support would help them confront what hid behind the game. And so, an evening that began as festive revelry turned into a battle for their lives and freedom. Their courage and determination were their weapons, and they were ready to go all the way to unravel the game as mysteries and confront the shadow that veiled this enigmatic forest.